Gamebreaker TV.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to GuildCast, episode 31 for July 10th, 2012. You're watching Gamebreaker. Scott Hawks is not here. End of show. Goodbye. See you later.
That's it. I'm out.
That's it. I'm done. No, this week, lovers of plant people and big ears rejoice. The beta weekend number 3 is almost upon us, and it will contain 100% more Sylvari and Asura. ArenaNet's Mike Z, because I'm not about to try his last name, shows off the Asura starting zone, and John Peters is back with more trait and profession talk, all that and more, plus your viewer questions. But first, from Massively.com, it's not Scott Hawks, but it's Elizabeth. Hi.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very good. The balance is all off. See, Scott's not here. Balance is all off. Is. Sorry, that was a joke. All right. And also, well, now writing with Gamebreaker, Richie Procopio. How are you, sir?
Howdy, everybody. I'm doing great.
Moving up in the world.
Yeah, he kind of wrote his first article. It went crazy.
I did.
First thing he writes just goes nuts. ArenaNet goes.
I made words.
Post you on Facebook. It went crazy. You got like ridiculous amount of views. Good article. If you guys haven't checked it out, it's gear versus skill in Guild Wars 2. So, trying to warn the public there. Players who might not understand the difference. It's like a PSA.
It's a PSA.
It's a PSA from Richie Procopio. Hey, I don't want to catch you off guard. All right, let's talk about some Guild Wars 2 stuff. Scott Hawks is not here this week. He has a massive sinus infection. He sounds like a mess. He's a dribbling mess. So he took the week off. He'll be back next week. So he'll be well. He'll be back.
Feel better, Scott.
Feel better, Scott.
It's all off. The balance is all off without the Scott Hawks. All right, so ArenaNet posted a new blog post yesterday giving us some details about the third and final beta weekend event. So obviously the big news here, if you haven't heard about it yet, is that both the Sylvari and the Asura will be playable. I'm sure most of you guys are, excited about this. We've been speculating for weeks now whether they were going to hold these back and kind of keep a little mystery, but as far as testing goes, this obviously makes the most sense, right?
Yeah, really for testing purposes. I mean, people have been saying that, yay, it'll help even out populations on launch, but I think really they just needed people testing it on a massive scale. And yes, they must be fairly confident because they did wait till the last beta weekend to do it, but it still can't hurt to do that before launch. I would not be comfortable with starting content getting seen for the first time by the public at launch.
Either you guys going to totally hold back and not roll either of them and wait for launch?
Yeah, I might wait on the Sylvari side. The Sylvari intrigued me from a lore and story standpoint. I love the fact that the race is only 25 years old and they're kind of, just coming into the world out of this tree out of nowhere and it's speculated that maybe they were born into the world to help fight the Elder Dragon and stuff. So I kind of like that vibe. So I think I'm going to hold back a bit and not see so much of the Sylvari starting area. But the Asura is fair game.
And also we got to see GameSpot had an exclusive look at the Asura. There's like an hour-and-a-half video. You can check it out on Gamebreaker.tv as well if you can't find it on GameSpot. I don't know if it's still up there. I think it's still up there, I'm sure, somewhere. But we got to check out the starting area a bit, and I love the personality of the Asura is great. I mean, it's like, how did he describe it? He described it as something like, they're the smartest kids in the class.
And they know it.
And they know it, and the most important thing is they want you to know it.
They want you to know it, yeah.
They already know it. You have to be so aware of it, too. Yeah, they're super
they're unapologetic, and they just, they're not the most socially graceful people, but they're good at what they do, and they're hyper-minded, and they're snarky, and they're really quite a character.
I really like how what they're also doing is like it seems that they're really diversifying the feel between the different races. So it seems like certain races will definitely speak to certain types of players, and you'll fall in love with one of them. But I could see a lot of people like not liking some of the others just as equally, which is a really good thing, right? That they're not so gray and kind of wishy-washy where you want to roll everything. I could see some players being like, "Oh my god, I absolutely want to roll an Asura," and then another group of people being like, "Nope, no interest whatsoever."
Yeah, it's nice that the differentiation that people will pick is based on the race's personality as opposed to the race's, inherent stats or attributes. It's really nice that because races are kind of equal when it comes to playing different professions, they're able to really go nuts and make it so that you have races that not everybody wants to play, but other people are really super passionate about. And it's not going to ever affect the balance of the game, or if someone's going to feel like they have to roll a really crappy race just because it has whatever stat benefit.
I guess we're gonna see the capital city. Has there been a lot of artwork on the Asura capital city or anything like that? Like, what do we know about it?
There's a fair amount of concept art release, and they did back during Asura Week, which was a year ago. They had a video that had kind of fly-throughs of Radisum a bit. So we've seen it, but we've never really been able to go through it and get in depth with it. So we've kind of just seen very, carefully orchestrated shots up till now. So I'm really excited for the capital cities. I think that's what I'm most excited about, actually.
The architecture in Radisum is just insane. It's it's kind of like part like Borg cube, but a lot of geometry, a lot of floating, pyramids and cubes and different things, and just a lot of magic infused into the city. That's going to be really cool. And, I think that's another thing about the races that's so great. It's like the personal story in these capital cities, which are just beautifully done. They have that totally distinct feel. Like, you can have Divinity's Reach with that real high fantasy kind of medieval town type feel to it. And then you go to the Black Citadel and the Char, and you're like, oh my goodness, these are nothing alike. And it's just going to keep going with the two new races. So, yeah, I'm super excited, too, for exploring those cities and seeing what they have to offer.
I mean, some people, I would almost think that, and this is probably really good for a beta weekend event, obviously, so they can test the servers super hardcore. But I have to imagine most people are going to immediately roll one of these two races. I would think that most people are not going to jump back to one of the races that we've already seen or been able to play. So I would imagine the starting areas at least are going to be just mobbed, right?
I've actually seen a lot of feedback, and it's interesting. A lot of people saying that they're going to roll an Asura or a Sylvari to look at the character creator, see what they look like, and then immediately teleport their character to one of the other starting areas so they can keep that content out. And I think that's an interesting idea, that you can get used to the animations, how they look and stuff, but not necessarily spoil the content. That said, absolutely, there's going to be a ton of people in those two starting areas. There's no doubt about it. But yeah, we'll have to see how it plays out.
That's an interesting way to do it. I'm gonna roll probably both of them immediately, but because I feel like the first 10 levels isn't gonna kill the entire game. I mean, you could blow through 10, 11, 12 levels, casually over the weekend on two characters pretty easily. That's not really gonna kill it for most people.
I know that some people have even more hardcore than that just been saying, I'm not going to touch it. I think that there's been more of that for these two races than any other. They're kind of more special and obviously more unknown. But I don't think I've really seen people be like, oh, I'm not going to touch the humans, not until release. But you have a lot of people like, I will not play an Asura. I will not play a Sylvari until release. Like, I'm setting them aside for Head Start. So that's a really interesting thing that a lot of people are doing.
Richie, what else do you know about the Sylvari? Because you seem excited about it, and to be honest, I don't know a ton other than the fact that they haven't been around very long, like you said, and they're just like a new race, and there's not a whole lot known about them. Like, what makes you so psyched about it? Because I gotta say, like, I'm not super amped for either of these two, for me personally.
Well, I mean, one of the cool things is that it's completely new to Guild Wars 2. I mean, this race did not exist in the Guild Wars 1 time frame at all. They're only 25 years old, and each one of them is born from a tree, a very special tree, the Pale Tree, and they are born kind of full grown and with a consciousness that they've gotten from dreaming while in the tree. So they kind of already share some of the experiences from all of the other Sylvari that have come before them, and they come out knowing how to fight and how to talk and different things like that. And it's just an interesting take. because they don't have a childhood, and they don't, they haven't been around the world that long, and reading the novels and different things, and seeing what we've seen of those NPCs in game, they just react to things very, very differently. They just view things from a totally kind of skewed angle because of how they come into the world.
What's like an example of that? Because like we see that with the Asura, like that really kind of a little bit snooty, we're really intelligent kind of feel. What is the feel of the sort of the personality traits of the Sylvari?
They're extremely curious, and they want to know about everything. And they'll look at something as an example, like death, and they're not afraid of it, and they're just kind of interested. Oh, that's kind of cool. And like,
death. Hey.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Let me just kill you and just see how this goes. Okay, sure.
Yeah, but they don't fear death the same way that humans would do, and the different thing. And they don't even know how long their race will live, And so it's like interesting things like that for being just a brand new race that make me.
Do you think most of the people who are interested in the Sylvari are a lot of Guild Wars 1 people because they didn't exist in Guild Wars 1, and that's what's also so fresh and new? It's like, wow, this didn't exist, and we're totally getting something new, where the other races are a little bit more familiar?
It's possible. Another big draw about them is that they're very woven into like Arthurian legend and very Celtic sort of symbolism and imagery, and part of their quests, from what we've seen as far as the starting character options, are very inlaid with lore that's very kind of old and traditional and ties back to Earth mythology. So I think a lot of people are interested in that. I'm actually very interested in that part of them. They're a very courteous and valiant race, which is exciting and interesting. Different than, say, the Char, which are brutal.
Yeah, I do like the Char. I'm kind of liking the Char a lot. I think that's going to be my home. I don't know. I can't tell. They're all so cool in their own way. But all right. So, Elixabeth, what are you doing? Beta weekend event. What's your plan? What are you rolling? What are you doing?
I'd like to say that I was holding something back, but I'm not going to. I know that like the first thing I do is going to spend like an hour in character creation, looking at everything I can do with an Asura, and then everything I can do with a Sylvari, and then running around.
Do you have
I'm a plant person.
Do you have like a level cutoff? Do you have like a level like you're just like, I'll play it up until here, and then I'll kind of stop?
Not really. I'm really bad about organizing my weekends ahead of time, so I'll probably just play whatever. It kind of also depends on whether or not they do any cutoffs, or I should say wipes. So if they don't do a wipe, I'm going to want to run the dungeon a couple more times because I wasn't able to in the last weekend, and I want to see how it's coming along. So that would take away from Sylvari and Asura time, whereas if they wipe characters, I don't have to worry about it, and I can spend all my time running around as level 2s and 3s.
She's secretly like, Arena, please make up my mind for me and just wipe my character so I don't have to. I just don't really want to be tempted. What about you, Richie?
Yeah, I'm gonna probably stick with the Asura. I want to check out the starting area. I know I'm not gonna have Asura as my main character come launch. I like them a lot, but I don't normally play the diminutive small races because I like being able to see the armor and the weapons list a lot easier.
Wow, you got something? What do you guys do? You got something against small people? You got something against little people? Huh?
No.
No.
Do you hate children?
No, actually, the opposite, in fact. But I like to see my gear bigger gear.
See, you're a Norn.
There you go.
I might be a Norn. We'll see. But yeah, so I'm going to play that, and I kind of want to. I have to nail down what I'm going to play professional-wise. It's the last chance to kind of do that, and there's a couple more I want to check out. I want to check out the Mesmer a little bit and play a little bit more of the Elementalist to see. I don't know. I'm thinking Warrior right now. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I'm probably going to play Sylvari and Asura at least a bit, and I'll probably try and roll a couple professions that I haven't tried yet. But I'll probably play them both. I doubt I'll get them both up to, and any kind of level that would be kind of hindering on actually playing one of them. Who knows? Maybe I'll fall in love with them. The Asura, I'm like, I definitely want to check it out, and it's really cute, and it's interesting, and it's kind of pompous. I have no idea what to expect about the Sylvari. It's going to be interesting. You kind of have me intrigued now by like how the dialogue could go and some of the storylines could be if they're just kind of very just curious about things, but not so like invested in.
Yeah, they're super open and very, like, not naive, but very innocent. So it makes for fun interactions with more jaded and or touchy characters.
That's going to be interesting.
Because they just don't understand why something would be offensive. They're like, why, what?
Why would you care about dying? I don't understand.
I think if you try it during the beta, you're going to be surprised. And I'm interested to hear what your thoughts are post-beta if you roll a Sylvari.
Well, that will be my first one I'll roll at least. All right, so next up, As we were just showing some of the video, we talked a little bit about the GameSpot. Mike, does anybody want to attempt his last name? I heard him say it, and I still can't repeat it. I'm going to call him Mike Z, because his name is just, I don't want to butcher it.
I think it's Zatarajny.
Zatarajny.
We can also call him Z-Axis, is apparently one of his nicknames.
Z-Axis is good.
Blog.
Okay,
so,
yeah.
Z-Axis.
Mike Z-Axis. So he went to GameSpot and gave them a guided tour of Metrica Province, the Asura starting area. So we learned a few things in the video that we should experience in the upcoming beta. First, something that we'd heard a little about mini games in Guild Wars 2. Up until this point, I don't think we've seen any, right? So they actually showed up a mini game called, was it RC Golem Chess?
I believe that is the name for it, yeah.
So how does this work exactly? Like I saw this little mini, not full on chessboard, but it's almost like it's 3x3, so 6 points, almost like tic-tac-toe, and you've got 2 golems. You can play against a computer, you can play against a real person. What did you guys get from it? How does the game actually work?
Richie?
It's it's hard to kind of see everything, but your action bar changes, and it looks like you can control the golem, move forward, and attack and stuff. And there's little power-ups that will spawn in different squares that you get up, and it's kind of like a little bit of Rock-a-Sock and robots, thrown in there, and you're just trying to defeat the other golem. It's part of it looks like it was part of a renowned heart, right? And as you actually played and beat the golem in these matches, that actually helped fill up your renowned heart. It was just a little fun little mini game thing. It was neat.
I loved Rock'em Sock'em.
Yeah.
What do we know anything else about what other games are gonna come into this? Like what else are we waiting on as far as mini games go?
Yeah, they've said that we're gonna see a lot more. They weren't super specific, but we know that there's keg brawl in the northern area with the Norn, and the humans are gonna have some. So we know they're going to be in there. They're just, I don't know if that's a release thing to keep it special or what.
I'm trying to find some of the B-roll while we're talking here of this mini game. Is there a major benefit to these games, or are they just little side games to kind of keep us occupied, in between other stuff? What's the real main focus for having these things in the game?
I just think they're just, some of them might be tied to a renowned heart like that one, so you can use it to complete that rather than, clicking on piles of debris or stuff like that. It might be just a little bit more interactive way. But, I think that they're going to be repeatable things that you could just, hey, I'm in the area. Hey, you know what? I haven't done that in a while. Or I've never done that. I've never been to this area, and this is cool. Just little tiny things just to kind of give you things to do and explore. I don't know if there's necessarily any major incentive to doing them besides just they're fun and just a little diversion.
Yeah, I don't think they need a really big draw anyway. It's kind of like I like a little side stuff to kind of break up some of the other stuff. You're kind of sick of PvEing. Maybe you're queuing up for PvP or something. And you're waiting. You could kind of do some mini game stuff. Do we know if are they all going to be specific in the open world PvE area where you have to physically be there and do this stuff, or are there going to be anything where you can kind of do wherever, whenever kind of stuff?
I don't think they've mentioned any plans for that. At least not that I've heard of.
It'd be kind of.
You have to be there.
Yeah, it looks like you're gonna have to be at a specific spot to actually group up and meet them. Mm-hmm. These would be great too. Where these would be great eventually, with guild halls and things like that, in those areas where you can kind of congregate and hang out with your guildies. I would love stuff like this. It's like with Star Wars: The Old Republic, they always talked about things like Bazak and stuff coming in, and I always thought those were great ideas. Just they don't need to be there. It is right there. These don't need to be big portions of the game, but it's really nice to have these just little additions like that to kind of break up the bigger PvE, PvP, and crafting.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially because Guild Wars 1 players hold a lot of, in-game events, and so if that carries over into Guild Wars 2, it'll be interesting to see if there's an annual keg brawl event or something where that really takes advantage of the mini games as a social activity.
Another thing that was really interesting in the video was early on when he first gets into the starting area, he shows off kind of a jumping puzzle sort of scenario where you're jumping up a bunch of different blocks, very side scroller, almost 3D, like Mario-esque. And obviously the one that they're showing in the starting area is super simple. And then you get to the top of the I guess it's like a building or something there, and there's a scroll there, and then when you get the scroll, it turns into this big, cool cinematic, and you get to kind of check it out. What they're calling these things? What are these vistas?
Yep.
Yeah.
So it seems like they're adding them to really scenic parts of the game that have, a vantage point, because it'd be really silly to have a vista at the bottom of a hole. And you go up and you interact with it. You get yourself there, and it seems, if this isn't any indication, like most of them are going to be kind of tricky to get to. Like, they don't want you to just walk up a hill and, woo, we have a vista. Like, not much point. And it'll turn into a cinematic that shows you just the really beautiful landscape that's going on. And it makes sense to me. Like, they have all this beautiful stuff going on. And so to kind of have a way to show it off and highlight it seems kind of lovely.
Do you think some players might just be like, I guess you just don't have to do them if you don't want to, but I wonder if some players would, I guess there's not probably going to be a ton of them. I just wonder if some players would actually be annoyed by it, because there's nothing really behind it, right? It's not like it's a cinematic to move story along. It's not really like you're in some quest chain. It's really just sort of to stop, take a breath, and kind of look at what the artists have created, which I'm all a fan for. Believe me, I am. Yeah. But I'm just wondering if some players, probably could hit escape and maybe just go right through it or something.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, from the look of it, you have to actually interact with it. So if you don't want to see the vista, you don't have to. Like, it seems like it's an entirely voluntary thing. What were you saying, Richie?
Yeah, I was going to say, it is part of a zone achievement. So for those people who really want to get like 100% of everything, they might feel a little compelled, but there is no there is no absolute need for it if people get frustrated by those kind of things. It kind of is almost like the Datacron system from Star Wars: The Old Republic, where you'll see a glow off in the distance, and you kind of want to, like, how do I get that? And there's a jumping puzzle, something to figure out. But the thing that was so frustrating about Star Wars: The Old Republic is they gave you a stat boost, a permanent stat boost, so you felt like you had to go seek out every single one of those that pertained to your class. And I like that these might be a little frustrating or a little difficult to get through, but you don't have to do them.
I'm really excited. I also seeing this as an early one. He talks about how these things are obviously going to get more difficult as the game progresses on. They're going to get harder and harder. That first one looks super cool. I can only imagine. Do you think that they're really going to take this, like, I don't want to say to like the nth degree, but like a really pretty hardcore scenario, almost where you really are super challenged by something like this? Like, because it almost looks like you could build like a 3D Mario, right? Like, you could build like something really crazy intricate where you have to hop and do all these cool things. You think they're going to go that far with it?
It's very platformery from what we've seen, and I hope they do kind of take it to that, because again, it's something that's not necessary, so you're not cheating people who like don't really want to go through jumping through hoops, literally. You're not cheating them out of anything, really, unless it does count for XP, but then they can just kill monsters and it'll be fine. So you're not excluding people. It's something that anyone can do and no one has to do, so it'd be cool if it was really another challenging element.
What do you think, Richie? Is this like a completionist dream come true, or is it like an absolute nightmare for you?
I like it. I think, and it's funny though, because, it's probably might be the kind of thing where like some of the easier ones I find really fun, but like they showed off that other one in the video that I don't know if you saw that one, but it wasn't a vista, I don't think. It was just a jumping puzzle, but it was multi-tiered. It had kind of like save points by going through gates and stuff. And there were little chest rewards as you hit different points. And that one seemed really convoluted and very difficult. Even Mike Z kept falling over and over again. And I was like, wow. So I think that they could get to a point where it might hit a difficulty level that only the particularly stalwart will get through. So we'll have to see how interested I am once I hit a difficulty.
Yeah, once you get one that's actually challenging, you're like, I hate these now.
Yeah,
and that's it. Well, that's the thing.
I can see screaming at your computer a lot. Mother, yeah.
Yeah, like you said, we've seen mother, yeah,
mother.
We've seen like that, yeah, with the Datacron stuff in Star Wars: The Republic, but like it looks like they're taking it to the next level where it is a lot more platformy. It's gonna be interesting to see how MMO players take to it. I don't know. It's. I like you said, I think because it's like more flavor stuff, little fun stuff, side stuff to do, in addition to all the other stuff. All right, so we got mini games, jumping puzzles, vistas, points of interest. It seems like there's a lot of small little activities being sort of sprinkled out through the world throughout the entire game. I gotta wonder if they're gonna. Hopefully, these things. You think? I would hope that these are gonna like travel all the way up through every level, though. That they're actually gonna sort of keep the consistency, and it's not something that they've like sprinkled in early on in the game to see how people fare with it, and it starts waning off a little bit.
Yeah, that would suck, especially if you were someone who really liked it. Like, wait, where did the jumping puzzles go? I really liked
I want
those.
more jumping puzzles.
She's looking around for them. They're in your room over there.
Oh, I put them in the closet. Never mind. We're good.
And this is funny, Richard. You said this. You came up with your new terminology of micro and macro content, and it's like you were saying that we've seen, like, when you think about PvE in an MMO, you usually think about like raiding and dungeons and questing, that sort of thing, which is like macro content, I guess. And then this seems to be a lot of like micro content, a lot of little stuff. There seems to be a real focus by ArenaNet to kind of focus in and try and give players a lot of other side stuff. You think maybe it's because we're so ADD that we need like a ton of million shinies around us just to keep us occupied.
Yeah, I think it just goes to their whole philosophy around they're building a world, right? And it's more than any one piece of content. They want it to feel like there's things to do. There's that it's not just log in and do your dungeon or log in and do this. That you could just explore the world and, oh my goodness, I never saw this vista before, this point of interest, this mini game, and just there's all these little things to do to keep keep your attention going and making you actually want to get out in the world and find something new that you've never seen before. And what's interesting also is with the scaling down mechanic. When you go into an area that you've out leveled, it's still going to be challenging to go through these areas and explore. So it's never like when you hit level 80 that there's no, you're exploring these older zones. You just one shot everything. It'll remain fresh and kind of interesting to unlock everything in every zone and explore every zone. And I like how that feels.
I guess I gotta wonder if there's enough, like, you're talking about that, like that micro content and these little flavor things throughout the world to make it feel more alive and real. My only experience, honestly, through all the years of playing MMOs, I've actually only really felt like alive and real living worlds to be more sandbox MMOs. The theme park MMOs, and I like theme park MMOs, don't get me wrong, like I'm not saying, but they usually don't have that feel to me. I usually always feel like I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, and I'm on some kind of a path. I don't know. You think they can pull off that with all these little mini sort of games and side things to do that's actually going to help make the world feel a little bit more just ever evolving around you? What do you think, Alex?
I don't think it'll ever get to the point where, like, Worm, you can walk away from it for a week and you come back and someone's built a colony around your house or whatever. So it's never going to really feel that alive that you can really only get from complete player-driven content. But I think it's going to do a very good job of feeling very full, as opposed to just feeling like you're running through stages that are made for holding mobs. You're running through environments that are built for exploring. And it's not, the entire thing, but it's a really good step along the way. And yeah.
Yeah, I think partially how they did that as well, seen from the beta weekend events, was the how densely populated things like the cities are and stuff with NPCs, and little things just like their walk cycles and things like that aren't so apparent. Like in a lot of MMOs, it's like you could stand there for 30 seconds and watch the NPCs walk cycle. I walk from point A to point B to B to C to D, and then it's like it just keeps repeating. Whereas in Guild Wars 2, it kind of does feel a bit more alive and there's a lot more movement.
Yeah, and you can actually follow some NPCs around, especially after you've turned in or you've completed a dynamic event or something. You follow an NPC around, and it kind of surprises you sometimes that there's follow up stuff that happens.
The conversations,
that
right? Like you start listening. I was doing the same thing. Like somebody would say something intriguing, you're like you'd want to just like stand there or like walk with them a little bit or see what they're talking about because they're actually like revealing like details about what's around you. I think that hit me when. I think something like that. I stumbled on something like that when I was near in Divinity's Reach when there's that whole
the gap, yeah.
Yeah, the whole gap, and you're just like, what? You hear people's like chattering. You're just like,
and everyone's talking about it. It's super eerie. That's actually one of the first times I really noticed it too. I was running by and I heard some guy being like, "There's something creepy going on." Like I hear noises at night. I'm like, "What? Noises? Holes? What?" So it's super. Yeah, it's stuff like that.
And you kind of almost wonder when you see stuff like that. Like, what do you think that they're gonna do with that? Do you think that they'll actually start? I have this thing that I think that they're going to like do like kind of dynamic events and one-off things in areas like that. Like stuff's going to happen in those cities and just different areas. I don't know. I think that doesn't. When they were doing all the the end of beta weekend events where they were spawning things in the cities and doing that, I'm still saying that they're testing like these one-off big events where they're just going to like do crazy stuff and be like, You don't think so?
If they did, it'd be awesome. I really still think it was just about calculating server stress.
I don't know.
I'm jaded. I'm cynical.
Richie, what do you think?
Well, I think I don't know if they're going to have like these surprise, one-off events like that. But they definitely have a track record in Guild Wars 1 of loving to do like celebrations and holidays and different things. So I definitely think they're gonna put those things in. But yeah, I don't know how. I don't know if they're gonna be able to just do these spontaneous live events in random little areas unannounced.
I don't know. It'd be super cool. We're talking about the Gap, right? And you're saying that they're like what did you hear them say? Something about like having nightmares and stuff and seeing ghosts.
I said that he heard noises, but that's close.
Shh, close enough. I just go to ghosts and aliens. Aliens. No, but how cool would it be if like, it gets taken over by like, what if that whole part of the city gets taken over by like some sort of like, supernatural-esque or ghosts or something, and there could be a big boss inside of the big pit there that you have to go down and fight. It'd be perfect.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, one of the great things is they have that. I think that they've talked about this before, that they have some sort of technology where they're going to be able to rotate dynamic events in and out, and I think that that's going to breathe a little bit of life into the game, because you just go to these places where you've been 1,000 times after the game's released a few months, and you might be like, whoa, what is this? I've never actually seen this event before, and they can do that kind of thing in the main cities too, and I think that would be neat.
God, the chat room is so good. And I smell a segue coming. He said aliens. That's right. Aliens. Go to netflix.com/Gamebreaker TV. You guys can sign up for
Scott's
a free.
not here, so I'll be disapproving.
You could be. Oh, I don't have Disappoint Ruby with me this week. I should bring that back every week. I should make that like a thing in the show. It really deserves its own thing. I don't have her this week. If you guys have not checked out their streaming service, I urge you check it out. I guarantee you will love it. Go to netflix.com/Gamebreaker TV. You can sign up for a free 30-day trial. It's only $8 a month after that for their streaming service. Stream it to your Xbox, your PS3, your Wii, your iPhone, your iPad, all that good stuff. Watch great stuff like we had here, Lost in Translation. Love that movie. Oh, The Pianist, another one. It's amazing. Oh my God. See, now it knows me. Chinatown. Oh, see, it's the critically acclaimed section. This is my section.
It understands you.
It does, because like these, I love these. I didn't see Mary and Max. Maybe I'll watch that. But I love Lost in Translation, The Pianist, and Chinatown's one of my favorite films of all time. Have you guys seen Chinatown? Jack Nicholson? When he was young?
Have not.
Am I that old? Really? Come on. It was even before. Oh my God. Go watch Chinatown. It's amazing. Jack Nicholson when he's young. It's a great movie. Check it out. Go to netflix.com/Gamebreaker TV. Sign up. $8 a month after the free 30 days. If you guys want to, if you don't want to keep it, you just cancel it before the 30 days are up. You won't be charged. I guarantee once you try it and check it out, you will not want to cancel. All right. So next up, Guild Wars 2 Hub posted part 2 of their interview with John Peters. This one was talking a bit more about regarding like the professions and the trait stuff. Few highlights from the interview. I don't really have quote cards, but like I said, our producer Dom's on vacation and apart. Everything just kind of completely goes out the window. So.
Good throat.
Thank you. He says, I try not to worry too much about BWE metagame. People are just learning the basics of the game compared to what we see in our internal tests. I can tell you that the builds people think are strong are really not the ones to be most worried about, as there are some absolute monster builds in the current internal meta that thankfully have not seen the light of day in our weekend events. So apparently people doing internal testing are creating much better builds than we are in BWE. I told you sucked, Richie. Didn't I tell you that back in the day when you first came on the show? See?
Yep. In fact, I said it first, and you just repeated it.
It's interesting to hear that. It's interesting to hear that after 3 BWEs, though, that they're saying the majority of players' builds that they're seeing people do are I don't want to say wrong, but just definitely not the optimal builds. Does that surprise you guys?
It doesn't surprise me at this point because they've just had their hands on this thing a lot more than we have. We've had very small windows of time, and for large portions of that small time, we're spent going, "Oh my goodness, look how awesome everything is!" Or an hour in the character creator. So once the game launches, that will change. There'll be so many more people, playing countless numbers of hours, and the community will probably find different things. But at this point, it probably makes sense that they're more familiar with the builds that are totally broken than we are.
What does this statement say about the balance of the game? Is it kind of
that it's still in development?
And you guys think you think it's cool that he totally came right out and sort of said that?
Yeah, I mean, they've been really transparent previously that, balance is still one of our big things. I think Mike O'Brien's blog post saying the actual release date was like, yeah, one of the things we're really looking at is balance because it's a big deal. And they've been working on it for 2.5 or 3 years. So, yeah, I think it's interesting that he just came out and was like, yeah, so the super OP builds are, you guys haven't found them yet, good job. But I think it's kind of to be expected at this point that balance still needs to happen.
So yeah, talking a bit. Go ahead, Richie.
I was gonna say, is it almost a challenge that he's throwing down? He's like, see if you can find them for the next BWE. They're there.
That's actually
try and break it more.
Yeah, I wonder if he's actually doing that. Like people are just gonna be like, I'm gonna search and try and get the best build possible now. People, your theory crafting build sites, websites, get up and running this weekend.
Ed Park's off somewhere cursing quietly to himself. He's like, "Oh, I really thought I had him."
In front of spreadsheets, he's like, "Oh my god, my pivot tables are off. Where is the issue? Where is the issue?"
And it would be great if there really wasn't any really monster builds, and he's just trolling everyone. Everyone's like, "Where is it? I can't find it."
Now we have to get GuildCast going as soon as possible. All right. So talking about balance, he said the balance of the game right now is basically at what I call the 80% rule. Things are basically okay, but there are a ton of things that just don't feel right the more you play. We have done the groundwork of establishing what we feel is a good baseline for balance, but now we begin the second 80% of actually making sure things adhere to that baseline. Some of that work has begun for the next beta weekend, but not all of it will be completed. So less than 2 months before release, one beta event left to go. I don't know, Elizabeth, how do you react to John's thought on balance?
Again, it's something that they've been working on, and it's something that they're now able to focus more of their attention on. It sounds from the way that Mike O'Brien phrased his blog post that they're pretty much done creating content and putting content into place. So now their whole energy should really be fixed on getting rid of bugs, getting balance down, and making sure that everything is at the highest sheen of polish possible, which is pretty much right on time.
What about you, Richie? Would you have expected them to be a little bit closer to balance this close to launch?
No. Well, you can't be done with balance. Balance will never be done. They will continue to do that right up to release, and right after. Right after, it's going to continue to more, and we will constantly see those changes. So I'm not concerned by these comments. I think that we're going to see a ton of changes from BWE 2 to this beta weekend. We're going to see, in a week and a half or so, there's going to be a ton of balance changes, and then they're going to compile all that feedback, and they're going to, get it as close as possible. I think all of the base mechanics are there, and that's part of what he's saying with the 80%, and a lot of it now is just number sliding, which is pretty easy, easy to make those changes. They just have to get the data, and that's where we come in.
Yeah, I mean, at previous PAX events, you didn't even actually know how much damage you were, because there were no skills in any of no numbers in any of the skills, because they just didn't know yet. So now that they've got the skills nailed down and they've stopped changing everything between every time you see the game, now it's the proper time for that.
All right, so next up to a question about necromancers and guardians. About that they have some extremely tough defense specs in PvP. He had this to say. He said, one of the goals of Guild Wars 2 is that offense is greater than defense in the long run. It doesn't mean that speccing defense is bad or that we don't want you to play defensively. It means we want to make sure that stuff dies and there's progress. There's a fine line here, and you have called out two of the biggest offenders on the too defensive side of things. But we will not remove this role as it is fun. It just needs to be viable and not required. So I'm sure somewhere Scott Hawks is
Sobbing.
on 20 Advil, sniffling with his little Kleenex, just watching the show right now. He's probably in chat. But I don't know. I smell some Nerfs heading Scott's way. What do you guys think?
Yep, Nerf bat.
Nerf bat. Swinging the old Nerf bat.
Yep.
Right upside the head.
Incoming Nerfs.
Fuck!
Scott's probably dribbling right now.
Dribbling or
dribbling? He's like that little mouth thing that you.
Yeah.
Seriously though, what do you think about the comments on? What do you think about offense being greater than defense?
That's something that's been a big point of theirs since pretty much the beginning. I mean, back when there was energy as like a skill resource in the game, and that was still tied to the dodge bar, they were talking about how energy was tied a lot more to defensive skills than offensive skills. You needed to know when you were playing really defensively, and you needed to think, hey, maybe I should change that because suddenly I can't do as much because all my energy's gone away because I'm using these really big energy draining skills. So that's always been a part of their design from way, way back, that they want people to be rewarded for playing proactively and for being offensive and for really taking the initiative with their attacks.
How do you feel about that, Richie?
Yeah, I agree with that, and especially because their structured PvP maps are all these conquest control point type things. You don't want people specking hugely defensive and sitting on these
just
posts
sitting there,
points and going, you can't do anything here. So it's definitely going to make it a lot more fun that, in the long run, if you have a long drawn-out encounter, 1v1 or whatever, that the more offensive or the extremely offensive character would probably do better against a defense. I think it's a very delicate balance type thing. They've said that they want to have like glass cannon builds, and they want to be able to have characters who spec more defensively and feel it, but you don't want it to go too far into the I am unmovable standpoint. Yeah. So that's probably what they're targeting there.
All right, and finally, regarding mesmers and their ability to cause the confusion condition, he had this to say. He said, we had to be careful with confusion because we couldn't balance it in PvE versus PvP. We recently got technology that let us change the balance numbers in these two environments, which will help us improve its usage. So what? I don't know. Somebody fill me in here. Why is it important for them to be able to like change these numbers like totally independently? What did confusion actually do? I didn't roll a mesmer.
So confusion is a condition that causes the target foe to take damage whenever it uses a skill, which is very different in PvE versus PvP environments. Because if you're putting it on the AI doesn't attack as fast. It just handles things very differently than a player does when they're attacking and playing. So it's a very different kind of condition. And it stacks in intensity rather than time. So it's just a very different playing field versus if you're putting it on an AI who behaves one way or a player who's going to behave in a variety of other ways.
So what is he saying here? Is he like what does he mean by they're going to improve its usage? What do you guys think he means by like were mesmers were they just not using builds correctly that were utilizing confusion?
Yeah, I mean mesmers are one of the I mean, they're the main source of this condition in the game as it stands now. And what I'm guessing is, because I didn't really play Mesmer myself, but I'm guessing that it was tuned a little low. And enemies in PvP probably, like other players, probably just ignoring the stacks of the debuff. And, because it probably wasn't hitting enough. And that was probably because if you just debuffed a PvE monster with huge stacks of confusion, it would probably just kill them too quickly if it was tuned up too high. So that's my guess there, that they needed this technology to be able to separate the potency of it between players and the AI, because it is a very choice-related thing. In PvP, another player is going to go, ooh, I've got 10 stacks of confusion. I better not use any of my abilities till that wears off. Whereas the AI mob can't make those decisions.
Also, it's not very fun to just sit there and be like, well, I'm not going to do anything till this goes away. So, like, aside from skills that actually remove it, it's not super, like, engaging for the person on the other side. Like, you should at least feel frustrated and like, I should do something, as opposed to, well, not going to put any buttons for 2 more seconds. So.
Not fun. Not fun.
Not fun.
All right, let's do some viewer questions. Each week we take your questions, or you post them to Facebook. Keep a lookout there. Also, you can send them in to submit at Gamebreaker TV. And we love video questions. You can keep it around 30 seconds, put it up on YouTube, send us the link to submit at gamebreaker.tv, and we'll play it on the show. Is this our first real video question besides Elizabeth trolling me and then myself trolling myself?
I didn't submit a video question.
Oh, that's right. You just did a question.
The guy who wanted us to join the cult of Guild Wars 2 was the first video question.
Oh, that's right. So we already had that.
That's right.
I forgot about that.
So snaps to you, guy.
I think I was scared of that guy.
You blocked that out.
Yeah,
I did.
I don't want to remember.
All right, so this question is from Melissa Perez, and apparently Melissa is playing DayZ because it's kind of dark. Oh, it brightened up. Look at that.
Hi guys, my name is Melissa, and I wanted to ask the panel if they thought being in a good guild could make or break a game for a new player. I ask this because I find myself looking for a new guild each time I start a new MMO. Then ends up soloing as much content of the game as I can before getting bored and quitting. I would also like to ask for any tips for finding a new guild for Guild Wars 2. Bye!
Oh, look at that. Great question from Melissa. So great question. Melissa wants to know, if a great guild can make or break an MMO, and I say abso-freaking-lutely. Like 100%, it's an MMO, right?
Yep.
1000% yes.
It's probably the best thing you could do with any MMO, whether it's a good MMO or bad MMO. I've played bad MMOs far too long just because I had a good guild. Like that was like part of the fun of it, right? Like that's why we play these games, to play with people. So I say yes, absolutely get a good guild. What do you think the best way Go ahead.
I will say I don't think it's necessary to have one to enjoy the game as it is. I just think it adds more enjoyment on top. And if you're in a toxic guild, it totally sucks.
Yes. Yeah, that's the worst. When you're in a toxic guild, I'd rather solo for sure.
Yeah.
But if you can find a good group of like-minded people who you get along with and just kind of be able to chill out and kind of, talk to them on Vent and stuff like that. I mean, it makes some of the gameplay just so much more engaging.
Absolutely.
Best way to find a guild, I'm going to say Gamebreaker. I know I'm being serious. We have like a great community. Like I see people come into our chat all the time. Like new people come in, and it's funny. Other people from like other like Twitch streamers, things like that. They come over to our channel and they're just like, "How do you guys have such a good community? Like nobody's like screaming like racist things in your chat and like just being complete. We get trolls once in a while. That's like normal." But we don't have like a terrible community. I say hit the Gamebreaker forums because the Triple B is like it's a couple hundred people strong. They're going to be playing a lot of Guild Wars 2.
Hit up the Gamebreaker forums.
I took that question all by myself. You guys have anything to add, or did I just?
You did. You went all solo there.
I did.
Yeah, and if there's also tons of other Guild Wars Guru forums and different places like that. Just find the different communities. Find like what you're interested in doing. Or you do want to focus on world versus world. Do you want to do dungeons and do you just want to hang out? So just there's a lot of guilds that are recruiting, and just search around and look at what they're looking for and find one that fits you.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd say again, go back to Gamebreaker. The Triple B is kind of like the all-encompassing name, I guess. It's been broken up into a couple guilds, but when we did the Guild Wars 2 stuff with Scott. But go on the forums. I'm sure there's a bunch of people there already, gathering and talking about what they're going to be doing. Usually a great group of people, and they're just usually super friendly and helpful. So I say, go make some friends. All right, so let's see. Next question is from Loki the Keeper. Loki says, there was a lot of speculation surrounding whether the Sylvari or Asura will be playable in BWE3, but no one seems to be asking if any new PvP maps will be playable. Do you think they will release any more of the structured PvP maps in the final weekend? What do you think, Alex?
So in the email notice that Massively got about the blog post that came out yesterday, it said that there was going to be mention of a playable Guild Conquest PvP map. That didn't appear in the blog post, so I don't know if they changed their mind and decided that's not ready for it, or if it's actually going to be in there and we weren't supposed to know about it because it was a surprise. So I would guess that one very well may be, but because it wasn't mentioned specifically in the blog post, and we all know it's not official until you hear it from ArenaNet publicly, I'm going to have to say I don't know for sure, but I'm going to guess there is one.
Wow.
Yeah.
So rumor has it, yes.
Rumor has it, yes. Somebody go write that rumor up. Post it on Gamebreaker. Let's go. All right. You sure that wasn't embargoed? You sure you're safe? You're not gonna get fired, right?
I'm sure.
All right, good.
I'm very sure that the embargo on that has lifted.
Okay, I could edit that out. The live chat won't live stream won't say anything. They'll be totally cool. It's like a secret between us and, and a few thousand.
Yeah, chat's not gonna tell me out of it. She did it. She said it was her. She said it.
Just a couple thousand people. Don't worry about it. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Final question from David Wright, who says, "With the release so close, when do you think we'll hear more information on the Guild Wars 2 Extended Experience app?" That's the iPhone app. We heard a lot about this a long time ago. Well, not a lot, but we did hear about the app, I guess, I'd say a year ago. PAX, I think, is when I first heard about it, right?
Yeah, or more.
Have we heard much about it in the recent months, or has there been anything?
They've been dead silent about it. I'm starting to wonder if that's something that they're gonna release like right before, like to tide people over between the beta weekend and that they can be like, woo, or if it's gonna be an after launch thing at that point, because they've said nothing about it.
That smells like after launch to me. That smells like the kind of thing. It's like, all right, here's all the stuff we need to get done. What do we absolutely need? Do you absolutely need the tie-in app at launch? My guess is probably not. It would be great, and I would expect if it is going to make it for launch, we're going to hear more about it very, very shortly. But that smells like after.
I think with that though, I'm going to say we're going to see it only because I'm thinking that the team making an app. Are you mocking me, Elizabeth?
Maybe.
No, because seriously, like it doesn't really have anything to do with the developers making the game, right? They only have to be able to tap into the API. You're going to be looking at like an iPhone development group, which is maybe even a third-party company. I don't know if they would hire people on. They probably would hire people on, but still, it's probably a totally small another team, totally coding in another language for the iPhone that wouldn't even. It's still they'd have to do like meetings and crap like that. But I don't know. I think they might actually push this thing. I remember what were the big, not to cut you, but what were the big like. I can't remember like what were the big features of it, because they talked about some stuff about it and it was like, wow, that's super cool.
We knew that there was going to be a way to see where friends were in-game and to probably communicate with them in-game without being in-game yourself. And they talked about it being applicable for a lot of other things, whether that's, auction house or whatever, but they never gave a ton of solid information about it.
Anything else, Richie?
Yeah, you can you can look at the map. You could see points of interest in different places. Like Elizabeth said, track where your friends are. Probably communicate. Probably use the auction house. There was a lot of probablys. But yeah, I don't know if I'm making this up, so I might be. They almost being able to maybe move your like a character in there somewhere else in the map using a waypoint or something. But that could have been just something somebody made up and I read.
I think that's a pipe dream.
I think Elizabeth just made it up.
She just head wiggles.
Elizabeth Clare. I always get screwed up with the. I call you like Elizabeth, and I see Elizabeth, and I'm like, what do I call you, Elizabeth?
It's so confusing. I don't even know. And then there are people who are calling me Liz.
It's so close. It's just one letter, and I never know which one to go with. Well, follow her on the Twitter at Elizabeth with an X, Claire, and go over to massively.com to check out all her writing there. And Richie Procopio, follow him on the Twitter at Richie Procopio. Go to his YouTube channel, Bog Otter, and go read his article on Gamebreaker TV right now, Skill versus Gear. We should check that. If I search on our site, Skill versus Gear, does that come up? Test that. Skill versus Gear in our search bar. I don't know. Let's see what it is. You can follow me on Twitter at Gary Gannon, and you can follow Gamebreaker TV at Gamebreaker TV. It's pretty easy to remember. And come over. We're going to be moving days and times of GuildCast. I think next week. Follow us on the Twitter. We'll post it there. I am going to shoot for, I think, GuildCast and BuildCast, the new show that's coming up. That's all going to be Guild Wars 2 theory crafting and PvP talk, super nerdy uber math stuff. I'll just drive the bus and read a book or something while at park and Matt's or Karina just kind of geek out with spreadsheets. I don't know. But I think we're going to move to Wednesdays. So GuildCast Wednesday probably at 6 to 7, and BuildCasts from like 7 to 8 or 8 to 9, something like that. I don't know yet. I don't know. Just come over to Gamebreaker.tv and we'll keep it posted.
So many choices.
So many choices. I don't know. We don't have it nailed down yet. That'll probably be the new days, Wednesdays, for the Guild Wars stuff. So keep coming over to Gamebreaker.tv, and you're not coming over every day. You should be for all the Guild Wars 2 news. Keep up. We're also working on a brand new website. Brand new stinking website. So
Ooh, shiny.
from top
3.0.
3.0 already. 2.0 is only 6 months old, but we're already going.
I was gonna say, I feel like it was yesterday.
It was, but oh yeah, the studio is 3.0 and the website will be 4.0 actually. Yeah. So 3.0 on the that's too confusing. I'm just gonna call it 3.0.
My brain hurts.
Things are changing.
Things are changing. Brand new shiny
I can feel it.
coming up. All right, so guys, have a great week, and we'll see you next probably Wednesday for BuildCast and BuildCast. See you next week.